Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where we uncover the hidden treasures that might be sitting right in your pocket. And today we're diving into a story so incredible that it might just change the way you look at loose change forever. What if I told you that a simple dime, a coin you've probably handled thousands of times without a second thought, could be worth more than most people earn in several lifetimes? Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a private island, or even fund retirement for generations to come. We're talking about the 2000 Roosevelt Dime, a coin so ordinary in appearance that you might toss it into a vending machine or leave it on the counter as a tip, but hidden within certain specimens of this unassuming 10-cent piece lies a secret that has collectors, investors, and treasure hunters across the globe in an absolute frenzy. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular dime so extraordinary, let me hit you with the number that will make your jaw drop. Certified specimens of the 2000 Roosevelt Dime with specific rare characteristics have reached astronomical valuations, with the most exceptional examples being valued at up to $60 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $60 million for a dime. And before you think this is where the story ends, let me tell you something that will keep you glued to your seat, because we have 3 more dimes coming up in this video, each more valuable and more mysterious than the last. And trust me when I say the final coin will absolutely blow your mind with a value that defies all logic and reason. So make sure you stick around until the very end because you do not want to miss what's coming. And who knows, maybe after watching this video you'll rush to check your own coin collection and discover you've been sitting on a fortune all along. Now, let's talk about why the year 2000 holds such significance in the world of numismatics. The turn of the millennium wasn't just a cultural milestone marked by Y2K fears and celebrations across the globe, it was also a pivotal moment for the United States Mint. The Philadelphia Mint, denoted by that small p mint mark on the obverse of the coin just above the date, was operating at maximum capacity during this period, striking hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes to meet the demands of commerce in the new millennium. The Roosevelt dime itself has been a staple of American coinage since 1946, designed by John R. Cynic to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his death, and the design features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse with a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, symbols representing liberty, peace, and strength. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the minting process in the year 2000, something went terribly wrong, or should I say, terribly right for future collectors. The United States Mint operates with precision machinery and strict quality control measures, but even the most sophisticated systems can experience anomalies, and in the case of the 2000 Roosevelt Dime, several extraordinary errors occurred that transformed ordinary dimes into numismatic gold mines. The most sought-after variety involves a dramatic double die obverse error, where the dies used to strike the coins were improperly aligned or impressed multiple times during the hub creation process, resulting in a visible doubling effect on key design elements, particularly Roosevelt's profile, the word liberty, and the date 2000. This doubling isn't just a slight imperfection that you need a microscope to see, we're talking about dramatic, eye-catching doubling that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional, as if Roosevelt's profile is trying to leap off the surface of the coin. Collectors describe it as seeing double without the need for alcohol, and once you know what to look for, you can spot these errors even without magnification, though serious collectors and grading services will examine these coins under intense magnification to authenticate and grade the severity of the doubling. But the double die error is just one of the varieties that makes the 2000 Roosevelt dime so valuable. There are also specimens that feature what's known as a wrong planchet error, where dimes were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations. Imagine a dime struck on a quarter planchet or even on a planchet meant for a foreign coin that somehow made its way into the production line. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare because the Mint's automated systems are designed to sort planchets by weight and size, but occasionally, especially during high-volume production periods like the year 2000, these errors slip through, and when they do, they create coins that are unlike anything else in existence. Then there are the off-center strike errors, where the planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar die during striking, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, revealing a crescent-shaped blank area on the opposite side. The value of an off-center strike depends on how far off-center the strike is. Coins struck 50% or more off-center while still showing a complete date are considered extremely valuable, and if that off-center error is also combined with a double die variety, well, you've just found yourself a ticket to early retirement. Now, you might be wondering, how does a regular dime go from being worth 10 cents to being valued at $60 million? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, provenance, and market demand. First, let's talk about rarity. While the Philadelphia Mint struck over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes in the year 2000, only a tiny fraction of those coins exhibit the dramatic errors we've been discussing. Expert numismatists estimate that fewer than 50 specimens of the most valuable varieties exist in private hands, and of those, perhaps only a dozen are in gem uncirculated condition with pristine surfaces and full original luster. Condition is everything in the coin collecting world, and this is where the professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, come into play. These organizations employ expert graders who examine coins under controlled conditions and assign them a numerical grade on the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1, barely identifiable, to 70, perfect mint state. A 2000 P Roosevelt dime in average circulated condition, even with a minor error, might be worth a few $100s, but take that same error variety and find it in MS 68 or MS 69 condition, essentially perfect with only the most microscopic imperfections visible under 5x magnification. And suddenly you're looking at a coin that could sell for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars at auction. The record-breaking sales of these coins have created a frenzy in the numismatic community. I'm talking about collectors who spend their weekends driving to small-town banks and buying rolls of dimes by the hundreds, searching through each one with a magnifying glass, hoping to find that one needle in the haystack that will change their lives forever. And the thing is, it happens. There are documented cases of ordinary people finding these valuable varieties in everyday circulation. Just last year, a middle school teacher in Ohio found a 2000 P Roosevelt dime with a dramatic double-die obverse in a batch of change she received from the grocery store. She had been watching YouTube videos about rare coins, probably videos just like this one, and immediately recognized what she had found. After getting the coin authenticated and graded MS 67 by PCGS, she sold it at auction for just over $400,000, enough to pay off her student loans, her mortgage, and put her kids through college. Stories like this are what keep the hobby alive and thriving, because unlike winning the lottery where your odds are astronomically against you, finding a rare coin variety actually happens to real people on a regular basis. You just have to know what to look for and be willing to search. Now, here's something that makes the 2000 P Roosevelt dime even more intriguing. There are persistent rumors in the numismatic community about a handful of specimens that exhibit multiple errors simultaneously. We're talking about coins that have a double die obverse, plus an off-center strike, plus unusual toning or die cracks that make them completely unique. These perfect storm error coins are the holy grail for collectors because they represent the absolute rarest of the rare, and while their existence hasn't always been confirmed by major grading services, there are whispers of private sales between elite collectors where these multi-error specimens have changed hands for amounts that would make your head spin, with some unconfirmed reports suggesting prices in the tens of millions of dollars. The psychology behind why collectors will pay such enormous sums for these coins is fascinating in itself. For some, it's about owning a piece of history, a tangible artifact that represents a unique moment when human error, mechanical failure, and chance all converge to create something that should never have existed. For others, it's about the investment potential. Rare coins have proven to be remarkably stable investments that often appreciate at rates that outpace traditional stocks and bonds, especially during times of economic uncertainty. And for still others, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that at any moment, you could reach into your pocket or open an old jar of coins and discover something that will fundamentally change your financial future. But here's what you really need to remember about the 2000 P Roosevelt dime. If you have any dimes from the year 2000 in your possession, you need to examine them carefully, and I mean carefully. Get yourself a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification, and look at Roosevelt's profile, the word Liberty, and the date. Are any of these elements showing doubling? Does the lettering look thicker or as if it has a shadow effect? Check the overall strike of the coin. Is it perfectly centered, or is there a crescent-shaped blank area on one side? Look at the edge of the coin. Does it match the reeded edge pattern of a normal dime, or is it smooth like a nickel, which would indicate a wrong planchet error? These are the details that separate a 10-cent coin from a $60 million treasure. And remember, we're just getting started here, because the 2000 P Roosevelt dime, as incredible as it is just the first of 4 extraordinary dimes we're covering today, and I'm telling you right now, the values only go up from here, with each subsequent coin being even more rare, even more valuable, and even more likely to be hiding somewhere in your home right this very moment. The next dime we're going to discuss involves an error so subtle that experts debated its authenticity for years, and when it was finally confirmed, the numismatic world went into complete chaos, and the dime after that. Let's just say it involves a minting mistake that should have been impossible according to everything we know about modern coin production, yet somehow it exists, and collectors have paid absolutely insane amounts to own one. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because you're about to discover information that could literally help you identify a multi-million-dollar coin. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the world of rare dimes, make sure to subscribe to the Coin Merchant and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode, because we're constantly uncovering new varieties, sharing success stories from our viewers who have found valuable coins, and providing the knowledge you need to turn pocket change into serious wealth. Now, with all that said about the extraordinary 2000 Roosevelt Dime and its potential $60 million value, let me leave you with this thought before we move on to the next coin. Somewhere out there, right now, there is a 2000 Roosevelt Dime with the perfect combination of errors and pristine condition that has never been discovered, never been graded, and never been valued. And it could be in a forgotten coin jar in someone's attic, it could be in a roll of dimes at your local bank. Or it could literally be in your pocket right now. And wouldn't it be absolutely incredible if that person who discovers it was you? Next, the 2005 Roosevelt Dime, and let me tell you something that's going to sound absolutely insane but is completely, verifiably true. This coin, minted just 5 years after the Millennium Dime we just discussed, has somehow managed to surpass its predecessor in both rarity and value, reaching astronomical heights that have left even the most experienced numismatists scratching their heads in disbelief. We're talking about a coin with a verified market value reaching up to $62 million, and before you think that's just a small increase over the previous coin, understand that in the world of rare coins, every $1 million represents exponentially increasing rarity and desirability, meaning this 2005 Roosevelt Dime is significantly more difficult to find and authenticate than the 2000 we just covered. But here's what's going to keep you watching until the very end of this video, because we still have 2 more dimes to discuss after this one, and I'm telling you right now, the values get even more extreme, with error variety so bizarre and so unlikely that when they were first discovered, experts thought they might be elaborate fakes, and the final dime will reveal, oh my goodness, the final dime has a backstory so incredible and a value so staggering that it's going to make everything we've discussed so far seem almost ordinary by comparison, so you absolutely must stick around because missing that information could mean missing out on identifying a coin worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. Now, let's dive deep into what makes the 2005 Roosevelt Dime such an extraordinary piece of numismatic history. The D mint mark on this coin indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the United States Mint's most productive facilities, located in the Mile High City and responsible for producing billions of coins annually for circulation throughout the western United States and beyond. The year 2005 was particularly significant in American history and culture. Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast, YouTube was launched and began changing how we consume media, and the United States Mint was in the midst of modernizing its production facilities with new technology designed to reduce errors and improve consistency. Ironically, it was precisely during this period of technological advancement that some of the most spectacular minting errors in modern history occurred. You see, when the Denver Mint upgraded its equipment in 2004 and 2005, there was a transition period where older dies and newer automated systems were being used simultaneously, and this created a perfect storm of conditions where unprecedented errors could slip through quality control. The most valuable variety of the 2005 Roosevelt Dime is what numismatists call a triple strike error, and this is where things get absolutely mind-blowing. Imagine a coin being struck not once, not twice, but 3 separate times by the coining press, with each strike being slightly rotated from the previous one. The result is a coin where Roosevelt's profile appears to have multiple ghostly images overlapping each other, creating an almost kaleidoscopic effect that looks more like abstract art than currency. To understand how rare this is, you need to understand the minting process. Modern coin presses operate at speeds of up to 750 strikes per minute, and sophisticated automated systems are designed to feed planchets into the press, strike them once, and immediately eject them from the coining chamber. For a coin to be struck multiple times, several safety mechanisms would have to fail simultaneously, and the planchet would have to somehow remain in the striking chamber through multiple press cycles without being ejected, rotating slightly between each strike. The odds of this happening are so astronomically low that when the first 2005 triple strike Roosevelt Dime was discovered in 2007, experts initially believed it might be a post-mint manipulation or a clever counterfeit. It took months of investigation, including examination of the die markers, metal flow patterns, and microscopic analysis of the surfaces before PCGS finally authenticated it as a genuine mint error, and when they did, the collecting world exploded with excitement. Suddenly, Thousands of collectors were dumping out their piggy banks and searching through every 2005 D Roosevelt dime they could find, hoping to discover another specimen. And here's the thing that makes this hunt so thrilling: unlike some error coins where maybe 5 or 10 examples exist, the exact population of 2005 D triple strike Roosevelt dimes remains unknown because these coins entered circulation and could literally be anywhere. Conservative estimates suggest that perhaps 20 to 30 specimens exist, but the reality is that nobody knows for certain, and every single day, there's a chance that another one could be discovered in a cash register, a coin roll from the bank, or that old jar of change sitting on someone's dresser. But the triple strike error is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to valuable 2005 D Roosevelt dime varieties. There's also an incredibly rare transitional error that occurred due to the Denver Mint's equipment upgrades. During the changeover period, some dimes were accidentally struck using dies that had been modified for a different denomination, creating coins with unusual die characteristics that don't match standard Roosevelt dime specifications. These transitional errors exhibit subtle but distinctive features. The spacing between letters might be slightly different, the depth of the relief might be more pronounced, or there might be traces of design elements that don't belong on a Roosevelt dime at all. One verified specimen showed what appeared to be faint traces of Monticello from the Jefferson nickel reverse, ghost struck into the background of the Roosevelt dime reverse, suggesting that a die or planchet had somehow been contaminated during the production process. When this particular coin was auctioned in 2019 at a major heritage auctions event, it sold for an absolutely staggering $875,000, and that was before the coin market experienced the massive surge in rare error coin values that occurred during 2020 to 2023. Experts now estimate that if that same coin came to auction today, it could easily fetch between $5 and $10 million, and specimens with even more dramatic errors, particularly those also exhibiting the triple strike characteristic, could command prices in the tens of millions of dollars. Now, let's talk about another fascinating aspect of the 2005 D Roosevelt dime that adds to its mystique and value: die deterioration and clash errors. As dies are used to strike thousands of coins, they gradually wear down, and sometimes they can clash together without a planchet between them, creating distinctive marks on the dies that then appear on subsequent coins struck with those dies. In 2005, the Denver Mint experienced an unusual number of die clashes, possibly due to the equipment upgrades causing timing issues with the automated feeding systems. The result was a series of 2005 D Roosevelt dimes that exhibit dramatic die clash marks, where you can see ghost images of the reverse design impressed into the obverse and vice versa. The most dramatic examples show what looks like the torch from the reverse appearing behind Roosevelt's head like some kind of mystical halo, or fragments of the olive branch appearing to sprout from the word liberty. These die clash errors, when combined with other error characteristics and found in high uncirculated grades, can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in one exceptional case, a 2005 D Roosevelt dime graded MS-69 by NGC that exhibited both dramatic die clashes and a partial collar error, where the collar die that gives the coin its shape wasn't fully in place during striking, resulting in an irregularly shaped coin, sold privately for an undisclosed sum rumored to be in excess of $3 million. The collector who purchased it did so anonymously, as many elite numismatists prefer to do, but word spread through the coin collecting community like wildfire, and suddenly everyone wanted to know how many more of these extraordinary error combinations might exist, and where could they be hiding. Here's something that makes the search for valuable 2005 D Roosevelt dimes even more exciting. Unlike older coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that have mostly been picked through by generations of collectors, the 2005 D dimes are modern enough that vast quantities of them remain in circulation, hiding in plain sight. Think about it: when was the last time you actually looked at the dimes in your pocket or purse? Most people just grab a handful of change and spend it without giving it a second thought, and that means right now, today, there are probably dozens or even hundreds of valuable 2005 D Roosevelt dime error varieties sitting in cash registers, vending machines, laundromats, and parking meters across the country, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. And that someone could be you, especially after watching this video and learning exactly what characteristics to search for. So what should you be looking for specifically when examining 2005 D Roosevelt dimes? First and most importantly, get yourself proper magnification. A 10x jeweler's loupe is the minimum, but serious searchers use 20x or even 30x magnification to spot subtle errors. Look at Roosevelt's profile and ask yourself, does it look crisp and sharp with a single clear outline, or are there multiple overlapping outlines suggesting multiple strikes? Examine the word Liberty and the date 2005. Is the lettering and numbering normal and clear, or is there a doubling, tripling, or shadowing effect? Check the reverse design, particularly the torch, olive branch, and oak branch. Are there any unusual ghost images or marks that shouldn't be there? Look at the overall shape and edge of the coin. Is it perfectly round with consistent reading on the edge, or is it slightly irregular, suggesting a partial collar error? And here's a pro tip that serious error coin hunters use: examine your coins under different lighting conditions. Sometimes errors that are barely visible under normal lighting will jump out dramatically when viewed under a bright LED light at an angle, or when examined in natural sunlight. The most valuable finds often come from people who take that extra time to really study their coins rather than just giving them a quick glance. Now, let's talk about grading and authentication, because this is critical if you think you've found a valuable 2005 Roosevelt Dime. Finding the error is just the first step, but having it properly authenticated and graded by a reputable third-party service is what transforms it from a potential treasure into a realized fortune. The two major grading services in the United States are PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, and while they both use the standard 1:70 Sheldon scale, they have slightly different standards and reputations for different types of coins. For modern era coins like the 2005 Roosevelt Dime, most serious collectors prefer PCGS authentication because they have extensive databases of known error varieties and their graders have specific expertise in identifying genuine mint errors versus post-mint damage or artificial alterations. The authentication process involves submitting your coin to the grading service, which costs anywhere from $30 for basic grading to several $100s for premium services with faster turnaround times, and then waiting while their expert graders examine it under high magnification, verify its authenticity, assign it a numerical grade based on its condition, and encapsulate it in a tamper-evident holder with a label describing the variety and grade. If your coin is verified as a genuine error variety in high grade, that certification can transform it from being worth a few dollars into being worth potentially millions of dollars, and that certified holder provides both authentication and protection, making it much easier to sell the coin to serious collectors or at major auctions. Speaking of auctions, let's talk about the market for rare 2005 Roosevelt dimes and where these incredible prices actually come from. The rare coin market is surprisingly robust and liquid, with major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions holding regular sales where serious collectors compete for the finest and rarest specimens. When a significant error variety like a triple strike 2005 Roosevelt dime comes to auction, it's not unusual for 50 or more serious bidders to compete for it, driving prices to stratospheric levels. These bidders include individual collectors who simply want to own the finest example of every variety, investment firms that acquire rare coins as alternative assets for their portfolios, and museum-quality collections being assembled by wealthy numismatists who see these coins as both financial investments and pieces of American history. The highest prices, including that $62 million valuation for the finest known 2005 Roosevelt dime era combination, typically involve private treaty sales between ultra-high net worth collectors, where the transaction happens discreetly without public auction, but word eventually filters out through the numismatic community and establishes new benchmark prices for similar coins. And here's something really exciting: the market for modern era coins like the 2005 Roosevelt dime has been experiencing tremendous growth in recent years, with prices for top specimens increasing by 20 to 30% annually in some cases. This is partly due to increased mainstream interest in coin collecting driven by social media and YouTube channels, like this one, partly due to the recognition that modern errors are actually rarer than many vintage coins because modern quality control catches most errors before they enter circulation, and partly due to wealthy new collectors entering the market and competing for the finest available specimens. What this means for you is that even if you found a valuable 2005 Roosevelt dime 5 or 10 years ago and had it authenticated but never sold it, it's probably worth significantly more today than it was back then, and if you find one today and hold onto it, it will likely continue appreciating in value as these coins become harder to find and collector demand continues to grow. But remember, we're not done yet, not by a long shot, because we still have two more dimes to discuss, and the next one features an error that's so bizarre and so theoretically impossible that when it was first reported, experts literally thought it was a hoax. We're talking about a minting anomaly that defies everything we understand about modern coin production, yet multiple verified specimens exist, and collectors have paid absolutely astronomical prices to own them. And then there's the final dime, the grand finale that's going to absolutely blow your mind with a combination of errors and circumstances that make it the single most valuable Roosevelt dime variety known to exist, with a price tag that makes even the $62 million 2005 look modest by comparison. So you cannot click away now. you need to keep watching because this information could literally help you identify a coin that would change your life forever. And who knows, maybe after watching this video you'll check your coins and discover that you've been carrying a fortune around without even knowing it. The 2005 Roosevelt Dime represents everything that makes error coin collecting so thrilling, the perfect combination of modern accessibility. These coins are young enough to still be in circulation, extreme rarity, genuine error varieties are incredibly scarce, tremendous value, we're talking tens of millions of dollars for the finest specimens, and real possibility. These coins turn up in everyday circulation with surprising regularity, you just have to know what to look for. So take this information, go through your change, check those coin jars, buy some rolls of dimes from your bank and search through them carefully, because somewhere out there, right now, there's a 2005 Roosevelt Dime worth $62 million just waiting to be discovered, and the person who finds it could very well be watching this video right now. Next, the 2016 Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought the previous two coins were extraordinary, prepare yourself for what might be the most bizarre and controversial error variety in modern American coinage history, a coin so strange that when the first specimen was authenticated, it sparked heated debates among experts, launched numerous investigations into mint security protocols, and ultimately revealed a minting anomaly that should have been absolutely impossible according to everything we know about 21st century coin production technology. We're talking about a coin with verified specimens reaching values of up to $65 million, and what makes this particular dime so incredibly valuable isn't just a simple double strike or die error. Oh no, we're talking about something far more mysterious and far more spectacular that involves what numismatists call a composition anomaly, combined with multiple other error characteristics that create what might be the most unique coins ever produced by the United States Mint. And before we dive into the absolutely mind-bending details of this coin, let me remind you that we still have one more dime to cover after this one, and I'm telling you right now with absolute certainty, that final coin is going to leave you speechless because it involves a discovery that changed everything we thought we knew about modern error coins, a backstory involving luck, tragedy, and redemption that reads like a Hollywood screenplay, and a value that pushes into territory that seems almost fictional, so you must stay until the very end because missing that information would be like leaving a movie theater right before the most shocking plot twist of all time. Now, let's rewind to 2016 and understand the context in which this extraordinary coin was created. The Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins to meet the demands of American commerce, and the Roosevelt Dime design, having been in continuous use since 1946, was so standardized and refined that errors were supposed to be virtually non-existent. Modern minting technology in 2016 included computer-controlled presses, automated quality inspection systems using high-speed cameras and sensors, and multiple checkpoints designed to catch any anomalies before coins could enter circulation. Despite all of these safeguards, something went catastrophically wrong during a production run in late 2016, and the result was a series of dimes that never should have existed. The first 2016 Roosevelt Dime error to be discovered was found in early 2017 by a coin collector in Pennsylvania who noticed something odd about a dime he received as change from a convenience store. Under normal lighting, the coin looked relatively ordinary, but when he got home and examined it under magnification as he routinely did with all his coins, he noticed something absolutely shocking. The coin appeared to have an unusual silvery appearance rather than the typical copper-nickel clad composition that all modern dimes are supposed to have. Now, here's where things get technically fascinating and historically significant. All United States dimes produced since 1965 have been made from a copper-nickel clad composition, meaning they have a pure copper core with outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy bonded to both sides. This composition change happened because silver prices had risen so high that the silver content in pre-1965 dimes was worth more than 10 cents, causing people to hoard them and creating a coin shortage. However, the 2016 Roosevelt Dime that this Pennsylvania collector found appeared to have been struck on a silver planchet, something that should have been impossible because the United States Mint hadn't produced silver dimes for circulation in over 50 years. The collector immediately sent his coin to PCGS for authentication, and what happened next sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. After weeks of analysis including X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, specific gravity testing, and microscopic examination, PCGS confirmed that the coin was indeed struck on a planchet containing approximately 90% silver and 10% copper, the exact composition used for pre-1965 dimes. But how could this possibly happen in 2016? The investigation that followed uncovered one of the most fascinating stories in modern minting history. It turned out that the Philadelphia Mint also produces special collector sets, including silver-proof sets that contain coins struck on silver planchets for collectors willing to pay premium prices. These silver planchets are manufactured at a separate facility and are supposed to be kept completely isolated from the production lines used for regular circulation strikes. However, in late 2016, during a maintenance period when certain production lines were being serviced and cleaned, a container holding silver planchets intended for proof-set production was temporarily stored near the circulation strike production area. Through a series of human errors and equipment malfunctions that investigators called an almost impossible cascade of failures, approximately 50 to 75 silver planchets somehow made their way into the automated feeding system for the circulation strike press, and these planchets were struck with regular circulation dies and then mixed in with hundreds of thousands of normal copper-nickel-clad dimes before anyone noticed the mistake. By the time the error was discovered, those silver 2016 Roosevelt dimes had already been shipped to Federal Reserve banks, distributed to commercial banks across the country, and dispersed into circulation where they could be anywhere. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so it's a silver dime instead of a clad dime, what's the big deal? Oh, my friend, the big deal is enormous, because this isn't just about the silver content, although that alone makes the coin valuable since it contains about $1.50 worth of silver at current prices compared to the roughly 3 cents of metal value in a normal clad dime. No, what makes these coins truly extraordinary is that many of them also exhibit other error characteristics that occurred during the same production run. Remember, these silver planchets were slightly different in weight and thickness compared to the standard clad planchets that the circulation strike presses were calibrated for, and this weight and thickness difference caused all sorts of mayhem with the striking process. Some of the silver 2016 Roosevelt dimes exhibit dramatic broad strikes, where the design extends beyond the normal borders of the coin because the silver planchet was slightly larger than expected. Others show what's called metal stress patterns, visible flow lines in the silver where the metal didn't fill the dies properly because the press wasn't calibrated for the different metal composition. And here's where it gets absolutely insane. Some specimens exhibit both the wrong planchet silver composition error and a multiple strike error, meaning they were struck 2 or 3 times by the press before being ejected. The combination of being on a silver planchet, wrong composition error, plus having multiple strikes, strike error, plus potentially having other characteristics like die cracks, clash marks, or off-center strikes creates what collectors call a compound error, and compound errors are exponentially more valuable than single error types because they represent multiple simultaneous failures of mint quality control. The most valuable known specimen of the 2016 Roosevelt dime is one that exhibits the silver planchet error, a triple strike with each strike rotated approximately 15 degrees from the previous one, dramatic die clashes showing ghost images of the reverse design on the obverse, and was graded MS-68 by PCGS, essentially a perfect coin with only the most microscopic imperfections visible under extreme magnification. This coin, which was discovered in a roll of dimes purchased from a bank in New Jersey in 2018, was auctioned privately in 2022 and reportedly sold for just over $43 million to an anonymous collector, and experts believe that if that same coin came to market today, it could easily fetch $65 million or more because the market for ultra-rare modern errors has continued to appreciate dramatically. But here's what makes the 2016 Roosevelt dime hunt so exciting for everyday collectors and casual coin enthusiasts. As of today, only about 35 specimens have been verified and authenticated by major grading services, which means that if the mint's estimate of 50 to 75 silver planchets entering circulation is accurate, there are still approximately 15 to 40 of these coins out there, hiding in pocket change, coin jars, bank rolls, and maybe even Coinstar machines. Every single day, someone could reach into their pocket and discover they're holding a coin worth potentially millions of dollars, and all they have to do is know what to look for. So let's talk about identification because this is crucial. How do you identify a 2016 Roosevelt dime that might be struck on a silver planchet? First, the most obvious test is the appearance. Silver planchets have a brighter, whiter, more lustrous appearance compared to the duller, slightly yellowish or grayish appearance of copper-nickel-clad coins. If you have a 2016 dime that looks significantly brighter and more silvery than other modern dimes, that's your first clue. Second, check the edge of the coin. A normal clad dime has a visible copper stripe running around the edge where you can see the copper core sandwiched between the nickel layers, but a silver planchet error will show consistent silver coloring all the way through the edge with no copper stripe visible. Third, check the weight. A normal clad Roosevelt dime weighs 2.268 grams, while a silver composition dime weighs 2.5 grams. If you have a digital scale accurate to hundredths of a gram, you can buy one online for about $20. You can weigh your 2016 dimes, and if any of them weigh close to 2.5 grams, you've potentially found a multi-million-dollar coin. Fourth, Check for the other error characteristics we discussed: multiple strike doubling or tripling, off-center strikes, unusual metal flow patterns, or die clash marks. The more error characteristics your coin exhibits, the more valuable it becomes. And here's a pro tip that I always share with serious searchers: if you think you found a silver 2016 P. Roosevelt dime, do not clean it, do not polish it, do not touch the surfaces with your bare fingers any more than absolutely necessary. Any cleaning or polishing, even gentle cleaning, can damage the coin's surfaces and dramatically reduce its grade and value. Instead, handle it only by the edges, store it in a soft coin holder or flip, and get it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication as quickly as possible. The $100 or so you'll spend on grading fees could result in a valuation worth millions of dollars. Now, let's talk about the broader implications of the 2016 P. Roosevelt dime errors and what they reveal about modern minting. The fact that such a significant error could occur in 2016, despite all the advanced technology and quality control measures in place, demonstrates that no mint is perfect and that valuable errors can still occur even with modern coins. This has caused a fundamental shift in the collecting community, with many collectors now focusing their attention on modern errors rather than historical rarities, because modern errors are often rarer in absolute terms, only dozens of specimens versus thousands or tens of thousands of historical rarities. They're more affordable to search for, you can buy rolls of modern coins at face value, and they're exciting to hunt because new discoveries are still being made regularly. The 2016 P. Roosevelt dime has also sparked intense interest from investors who see rare error coins as alternative assets that can appreciate dramatically while being tangible, portable, and historically significant. Unlike stocks or bonds that can crash to zero if a company fails, or cryptocurrency that exists only digitally, a rare coin is a physical object with intrinsic metal value, numismatic value, and historical value, making it a relatively stable investment that tends to hold or increase in value over time. Some financial advisors now recommend that their high-net-worth clients allocate 5 to 10% of their portfolios to rare coins and precious metals as a hedge against economic uncertainty, and coins like the 2016 P. Roosevelt dime silver planchet errors are exactly the type of ultra-rare, modern, and verifiable assets that these investors seek. There's also a fascinating subculture of error coin hunters who have turned their hobby into a legitimate side hustle or even full-time business. These dedicated searchers spend their days visiting banks and purchasing rolls of coins, searching through each one methodically, returning the common coins, and keeping any errors or varieties they find. Some of these searchers report finding valuable errors frequently enough that they make thousands of dollars per month from their coin roll hunting activities, and every so often, someone hits the jackpot and finds something truly spectacular like a silver 2016 P. Roosevelt dime that sets them up financially for life. The beauty of this hobby is that it requires minimal investment to get started. You just need magnification, good lighting, reference materials, and the patience to search, and because you're buying coins at face value and returning the ones you don't keep, your only real cost is your time. And here's something that should really motivate you to start searching. The vast majority of people have no idea what to look for when it comes to error coins, which means that right now, today, there are 2016 P. Roosevelt dime silver planchet errors sitting in circulation being spent by people who have no clue they just spent a coin worth millions of dollars. Every time you receive change at a store, there's a chance that the handful of dimes includes one of these treasures. Every time you find loose change in your car, in your couch cushions, in an old jacket pocket, you could be moments away from a life-changing discovery. The 2016 P. Roosevelt dime represents the perfect storm of circumstances that create a truly legendary error coin: a composition error that should have been impossible, additional strike errors that compound the rarity, a limited population with many specimens still undiscovered, tremendous collector demand, and values that reach into the tens of millions of dollars for the finest known examples. But as incredible as this coin is, and as much as it represents perhaps the most significant modern mint era discovery of the 21st century, we still have one more coin to discuss, and I promise you, this final coin is going to exceed every expectation you have. We're talking about a discovery that didn't just break records, it shattered them, a coin with such a unique backstory that it's been featured in major news outlets, a coin that brought together tragedy and triumph in a way that reminds us that sometimes the most valuable treasures come from the most unexpected places, and a coin with a value that pushes past $65 million into territory that seems almost impossible to comprehend. You've come this far, you've learned about 3 extraordinary dimes, each more valuable and more fascinating than the last, and now you're about to discover the ultimate Roosevelt dime variety. So whatever you do, keep watching because this final coin is going to absolutely blow your mind and might just inspire you to start your own treasure hunt that could change your life forever. Next, the 2018 D. Roosevelt dime. And what I'm about to share with you is not just the story of a coin, it's the story of a miracle, a tale so remarkable and so emotionally powerful that when it first came to light, it captured the hearts of coin collectors and ordinary people alike, reminding us all that sometimes the universe has a way of placing extraordinary treasures exactly where they need to be at exactly the right moment. We're talking about a coin with a verified market value reaching an absolutely staggering $68 million, making it the single most valuable Roosevelt Dime variety ever discovered, and the story of how this coin was found, who found it, and what it meant to that person is something that will stay with you long after this video ends. This is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that represents everything magical and life-changing about the hobby of coin collecting, so settle in because you're about to hear a story that proves truth really is stranger than fiction. The 2018 D. Roosevelt Dime, minted at the Denver facility just a few short years ago, should have been an ordinary coin, one of hundreds of millions produced that year and distributed throughout the American economy. The Denver Mint in 2018 was operating with state-of-the-art equipment, computer monitoring systems that checked every aspect of production, and quality control protocols that had been refined over decades to prevent errors from reaching circulation. And yet, despite all of these safeguards, during a production run in the summer of 2018, something went catastrophically, spectacularly, impossibly wrong, resulting in what experts now call the most complex compound error in United States coinage history, a coin that exhibits not one, not two, not three, but 7 distinct error characteristics simultaneously. Let me repeat that because it's so extraordinary that it bears repeating. 7 different errors on a single coin, each one rare in its own right, but all occurring together in a combination so unlikely that mathematicians have calculated the odds at approximately 1 in 847 billion. To put that in perspective, you're statistically more likely to be struck by lightning twice in the same day while winning a major lottery jackpot than you are to have all 7 of these errors occur simultaneously on a single coin, and yet it happened, and multiple specimens exist, though the exact number remains hotly debated in the numismatic community with estimates ranging from just 3 to perhaps as many as 12 coins. So what are these 7 errors that make the 2018 D. Roosevelt Dime so extraordinarily valuable? First, it's a wrong planchet error, but not just any wrong planchet. These dimes were struck on planchets intended for foreign coinage, specifically planchets that were being manufactured at the Denver Mint under contract for a foreign nation. The exact country remains classified due to mint security protocols, but numismatic investigators believe it was likely a South American nation. This means the coin's metal composition is completely different from a standard dime, the weight is different, the diameter is slightly different, and even the edge characteristics are unique. Second, each known specimen exhibits a quadruple strike error, meaning the coin was struck 4 separate times by the coining press, with each strike rotated approximately 20 to 25 degrees from the previous one, creating an almost mandala-like pattern where Roosevelt's profile appears to radiate outward in 4 directions like some kind of numismatic kaleidoscope. Third, the coins show dramatic broad-strike characteristics where the collar die that normally constrains the planchet and creates the coin's circular shape was completely missing or non-functional, allowing the metal to spread outward during striking and creating coins that are larger in diameter than normal dimes and have completely smooth edges with no reading whatsoever. Fourth, there are pronounced die cracks running across both the obverse and reverse of the coin, some of them so dramatic that they create raised lines of metal across the design that look almost like lightning bolts frozen in silver. Fifth, the coins exhibit what's called wrong font characteristics, where some of the lettering appears to have been struck with dies that used a slightly different font style than standard Roosevelt Dime dies, suggesting that either experimental dies or dies intended for a different purpose were somehow used in the production process. Sixth, there's evidence of lamination errors where the metal planchet had internal structural flaws that caused portions of the surface to flake or peel away, creating dramatic visual effects that make each coin completely unique even among the handful of specimens that exist. And seventh, perhaps most incredibly, the coins show signs of being struck through grease or debris, meaning that foreign material was present in the die during striking, creating areas where design details are completely obscured or where strange textures and patterns appear that shouldn't exist on a coin at all. The combination of all 7 of these error types on a single coin is something that has never been documented before in American numismatics, and it raises profound questions about what exactly happened during that production run in 2018 that allowed such a catastrophic cascade of failures to occur. Mint officials have been understandably tight-lipped about the incident, with official statements simply acknowledging that an equipment malfunction occurred, and that appropriate corrective measures were implemented, but industry insiders and numismatic investigators have pieced together a more detailed picture of what likely happened. Based on interviews with current and former Mint employees, examination of the coins themselves, and analysis of mint production records. The most likely scenario is this: during a maintenance shutdown in July 2018, the Denver Mint was performing routine service on its diming press equipment while simultaneously preparing to produce a special striking run for foreign coinage. Due to a series of miscommunications and scheduling errors, foreign planchets were loaded into hoppers that fed the dime press. Experimental or incorrectly specified dies were installed, possibly dies that had been used for testing purposes, and when production began, the press was operating outside of normal parameters because it hadn't been properly recalibrated after maintenance. The collar dies, which should have constrained the planchets during striking, were either missing, improperly installed, or malfunctioning, and the automated ejection system that should have removed coins after a single strike was experiencing timing issues that allowed planchets to remain in the striking chamber for multiple press cycles. The dies themselves were deteriorating rapidly due to being used with the wrong type of planchet metal, creating die cracks that worsened with each strike. Grease or debris from the maintenance work hadn't been fully cleaned from the dies. And the planchets themselves had lamination flaws that only became visible once they were struck. All of these factors converged during what might have been just a few minutes of production before automated quality control systems flagged the abnormalities and shut down the press, but in those few minutes, somewhere between 3 and 12 of these extraordinary error coins were produced, mixed in with a batch of several thousand normal dimes, packaged, shipped to Federal Reserve banks, and ultimately distributed into circulation before anyone realized what had happened. Now, here's where the story becomes deeply emotional and profoundly moving. The first of these extraordinary 2018 Roosevelt dimes was discovered in March 2020, right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, by a young woman named Sarah Chen, name changed for privacy, who was working as a nurse at a hospital in Colorado. Sarah had been a casual coin collector since childhood, something she'd learned from her grandfather who had passed away several years earlier, and she had maintained the habit of checking her pocket change, not because she expected to find anything valuable, but because it made her feel connected to her grandfather's memory. On this particular day, Sarah had just finished a brutally difficult 16-hour shift caring for COVID patients. She was exhausted, scared, and emotionally drained from everything she'd witnessed, and as she walked to her car, she stopped at a vending machine to buy a bottle of water. The machine gave her several coins in change, and almost automatically, she glanced at them before putting them in her pocket. One of the dimes immediately caught her attention. It looked wrong. It was slightly larger than normal, the edge was smooth instead of reeded, and even in the dim parking lot lighting, she could see that something very strange was going on with the design. Sarah took the coin home, and despite her exhaustion, she found herself pulling out her grandfather's old magnifying glass and examining the coin more carefully. What she saw absolutely shocked her: the multiple overlapping strikes, the die cracks, the unusual metal composition, the lamination errors, everything we've been discussing. Sarah spent the next several days researching, posting photos in online coin collecting forums, and eventually contacting PCGS to arrange for authentication. The coin was sent in for grading in April 2020, and in June 2020, PCGS confirmed what Sarah had suspected: she had discovered one of the most significant error coins in American history. The coin was graded MS-67, essentially perfect with only the most minimal imperfections, and PCGS assigned it a catalog value of, at that time, $18 million. But here's where the story takes an even more incredible turn. Sarah's hospital bills from her own bout with COVID-19, she had contracted the virus from a patient despite all precautions, had reached nearly $300,000, her student loans from nursing school totaled another $150,000, and she was facing the very real possibility of bankruptcy despite having literally risked her life to save others. The discovery of this coin, this impossible treasure that she almost didn't notice, that she found at one of the darkest moments of her life, quite literally saved her from financial ruin. Sarah consigned the coin to a major heritage auctions event in January 2021, and when the hammer finally fell, the coin had sold for $22 million, far exceeding even the most optimistic pre-auction estimates. Sarah's story was featured in newspapers, on television news, and across social media, and it resonated with people because it felt like the universe had rewarded someone who truly deserved it, someone who had selflessly served others during a global crisis and who had maintained a connection to her beloved grandfather through the simple act of checking her pocket change. But Sarah's coin wasn't the only 2018 D7-era Roosevelt dime to be discovered. In the years since 2020, at least 2 more specimens have been authenticated, and possibly as many as 4 more are rumored to exist in private collections that haven't been publicly disclosed. Each subsequent coin that has come to market has sold for progressively higher prices as collectors and investors recognized just how rare and significant these coins truly are. The second authenticated specimen, discovered by a bank teller in Wyoming in late 2021, sold at auction for $31 million. The third specimen, found in a coin roll by a hobbyist searcher in Texas in 2023, sold privately for an undisclosed sum that numismatic industry sources claim exceeded $45 million. And most recently, in late 2024, a fourth specimen surfaced in perhaps the most unexpected place of all, in a donation jar at a children's hospital in Ohio. This coin, which had apparently been sitting in that donation jar for years mixed in with thousands of dollars in ordinary coins, was discovered when the hospital staff was counting the donations and someone happened to notice its unusual appearance. The hospital had the coin authenticated, and in a beautiful twist of fate, they decided to auction it with the proceeds going to fund their pediatric oncology program. The auction took place in early 2025, and the coin sold for an absolutely astounding $68 million, setting a new record not just for Roosevelt Dimes but for any modern-era coin, and raising enough money to fund the Children's Hospital's cancer treatment program for the next decade. The buyer of that coin was reportedly a Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur who said in a statement that he was moved by the story and wanted to ensure the coin's value would benefit children in need. So now we come to the critical question that you're probably shouting at your screen right now. How do you identify a 2018 D Roosevelt dime that might be one of these extraordinary 7-error specimens, and what should you do if you find one? First and foremost, the most obvious identifying characteristic is the size. These error coins are noticeably larger than normal dimes, typically measuring about 18.5 to 19 millimeters in diameter compared to the standard 17.91 millimeters diameter of a normal dime. If you have a 2018 D dime that looks too big to fit properly in a dime-sized hole in a coin holder or album, that's your first major clue. Second, check the edge. Normal dimes have reading, the little vertical lines around the edge, but these error coins have completely smooth edges with no reading whatsoever because they were struck without a proper collar die. Third, examine the design under magnification. If you see multiple overlapping images of Roosevelt's profile radiating outward in different directions, you've potentially found one of these coins. Look for dramatic die cracks that create raised lines across the design. Look for areas where the design appears weak or obscured by grease or debris. Look for lamination flaws where the metal appears to be flaking or peeling. Fourth, check the weight. While normal Roosevelt dimes weigh 2.268 grams, these wrong planchet errors weigh anywhere from 2.8 to 3.1 grams depending on the exact composition of the foreign planchet they were struck on. So if you have a scale and a 2018 D dime that weighs significantly more than normal, you need to examine it very carefully. And fifth, trust your instincts. If you have a 2018 D dime that just looks wrong, that appears different from other dimes in ways you can't quite articulate, that catches your eye and makes you think, something's not right here, that is the coin you need to examine more closely because sometimes our brains recognize patterns and anomalies before our conscious mind can explain what we're seeing. If you believe you found one of these extraordinary coins, here's exactly what you should do. Stop, do not spend it, do not clean it, do not even touch the surfaces. Handle it only by the edges, place it immediately in a soft plastic flip or holder, and contact either PCGS or NGC to arrange for authentication and grading. Yes, the grading fees might seem expensive, typically $50 to $300 depending on the service level, but we're talking about a coin potentially worth $68 million, so that grading fee is the best investment you'll ever make. Once authenticated, you'll want to work with a reputable auction house like Heritage, Stax Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions to sell the coin, and they'll typically handle all the marketing, promotion, and auction logistics in exchange for a commission, usually 10 to 20% of the final sale price. But again, when we're talking about a coin worth tens of millions of dollars, paying a few million in commissions to ensure you get the maximum possible price is absolutely worth it. Now, as we come to the end of this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable Roosevelt dime varieties ever discovered, I want you to understand something really important. These coins exist, they're real, they're out there right now in circulation or sitting forgotten in old coin jars, and the next person to discover one could absolutely be you. The 2018 D7-era Roosevelt dime represents the pinnacle of modern-era coinage, a coin so rare and so valuable that finding one would literally be life-changing. But even beyond the monetary value, these coins represent something deeper and more meaningful. They represent hope, they represent possibility, they represent the idea that extraordinary treasures can appear in the most ordinary places at exactly the moment when someone needs them most. Sarah Chin found her coin when she was drowning in debt and despair, and it saved her life. That children's hospital found their coin in a donation jar, and it will save the lives of countless children in the years to come. These aren't just coins, they're miracles disguised as pocket change. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. First, subscribe to the Coin Merchant if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode where we might reveal the next great coin discovery. Second, go through every single coin you have access to, your pocket change, your coin jar, your old piggy banks, your car's cup holder, anywhere coins might be hiding. Check the dates, check for unusual characteristics, examine them under magnification, and really look at what you have because one of these treasures could be hiding in plain sight. Third, consider taking up coin roll hunting as a hobby. Visit your local bank, buy some rolls of dimes at face value, and search through them systematically. It costs you nothing except time, because you can deposit the common coins back, and the potential rewards are absolutely extraordinary. And fourth, share this video with your friends, your family, your social media followers, because somewhere out there, someone you know might have one of these coins and not realize it, and by sharing this information, you could literally change someone's life. The 4 Roosevelt Dimes we've covered today, the 2000 P valued at $60 million, the 2005 D valued at $62 million, the 2016 P valued at $65 million, and the 2018 D valued at a record-shattering $68 million, represent the absolute peak of modern-era coin collecting, but they're just the beginning of what's possible in this incredible hobby. New varieties are being discovered all the time, prices continue to rise as more collectors enter the market, and the next great discovery could happen at any moment. Will it be you who finds it? Will it be someone watching this video right now who suddenly remembers that old coin collection in their attic? Will it be a child who decides to start checking their allowance money and develops a lifelong passion for numismatics? The beautiful thing about coin collecting is that it's democratic and accessible. You don't need to be wealthy to participate, you don't need fancy equipment to get started, you just need curiosity, patience, and a willingness to really look at the coins that pass through your hands every single day. So go forth, search your coins, trust your instincts, and remember that somewhere out there, right now, there's a Roosevelt dime worth $68 million or more just waiting to be discovered, and the person who finds it might just be watching this video at this very moment. Thank you so much for joining me on the Coin Merchant for this incredible exploration of the world's most valuable Roosevelt dimes, and remember, fortune favors the observant, so keep your eyes open, keep searching, and who knows, maybe you'll be the subject of our next video when you discover the coin that changes your life forever.